Hi, my name is John Messina, and welcome to another edition of Hey Coach. Our guest today is a coach that I have known for many years. I admire his coaching prowess. Coach Irv Jones from Treasure Coast High School. Welcome, Coach.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Okay, I'm glad to bring you out here. I know it's the off season. You had a great year this year.
Yes, sir.
You really did, and we'll get into it a little bit. But give me a little bit of your background, Coach.
Background, I started coaching in '99 at Spruce Creek High School in Port Orange, Florida, towards close to Daytona. I coached there from '99 to 2001. Then 2001 to I think around 2005, 2006, I coached at Father Lopez High School, was actually in Daytona Beach. And then I coached 1 year at Calvary Christian, which was a new school and a brand new school that had opened up in Ormond Beach. And then in 2007, spring of 2007, I became a defensive coordinator at Treasure Coast High School. And 2010, I became a head coach of Treasure Coast.
Who were your influences that got you into coaching?
I would say my dad. My dad, was a big influence on me. He retired from the school board, and he was an AD at one point in time, assistant principals at Westwood forever. I think he might have been the first dean at. I think he was first dean at Central when it opened up, Westwood when it opened up, and Port St. Louis High School. So, and he was actually the last head football coach at Lincoln Park High School before they phased out football. So I would say my dad.
Did you think as you growing up that you were going to be a coach?
No, I didn't.
You didn't?
No, I didn't. I used to kind of lay around, as I got older and try to draw plays and do these different things and save up different things. And I look back at it sometime, I think, what was I thinking? But and then one day I was like, you know what? I just want to go out and volunteer, and that's when I went out to Spruce Creek High School and volunteered, and they ended up hiring me.
Give me a little history of Treasure Coast football, which I know real well, being that Centennial. We had some great games over the years, but a little bit of history of Treasure Coast football.
When I got to, and my numbers could be wrong, when I got to Treasure Coast High School in the spring, I didn't coach in the fall of the first year. I think they were 0-10. And then the following year, I think we went 3-7, and I can't remember the record out there, but we built upon that and we start going up, and until we got to probably one of our greatest seasons was the 2009-2010 season when we I would say peaked, and we had a bunch of just amazing athletes and a bunch of amazing kids, and I think we probably it was the biggest signing class we ever had. So that was a real high point building up to 2009, 2010. Then we kind of even out a little bit, and I think it's crazy. I would say probably the best year, the best thing that happened to me was the year we went 0-9.
I was just going to bring that up. I mean, to me, that is the best coaching performance the year after that I have seen. Because you guys, and I'm being real honest, you were bad that year.
Yeah.
You just didn't have the kids. You just didn't have the athletes. It's nothing to do with coaching. Next year, boy, you turned that right around. How did you do that?
I think, and I've said this before, I think I had to step back and look at myself as a person. I think, at one point in time, when I look back at myself, I felt like I was coaching like I was God's gift to football.
Right.
And then, when you go on 0-9, you step back and you realize, that was a gift. Football was a gift to me, and so it changed my whole thought process, the way I approached the coaching, the way I approached the kids, it just. It just was a reality check, like I said, and it just changed my whole thought process, the way I thought about the game, how I carried myself, and everything, and really embedded, I think, character in me to pass down to the kids.
But see, you're doing something a lot of coaches don't do. You adjusted. You adjusted. And,
Yes,
and
sir.
sometimes you have to do that. I know when I went back after I retired, and I'm helping over Martin County, coaching baseball over there. And I remember first few practices, I'm out there, and the kids knew who I was and everything, and I'm going through a drill. And I had a kid say something to me that nobody ever said to me in 40 years. I'm explaining the drill, and he looked at me, he says, "Coach, I know." I said, "Excuse me?" He says, I know the drill." So, I had to take a deep breath.
Yeah.
I said, okay, I'm not going to come out yelling and screaming. So I'm thinking in my head real quick. I says, okay, next day, pick the kid out. I says, since you know the drill, you explain the drill to everybody. But I mean, you do have to adjust. I think
yeah.
the biggest thing with the young men and women, the scholar athletes now, they want you to listen.
Mm-hmm.
They really want you. They want discipline. I don't care what anybody says. Kids want discipline, and they want to be taught, but they also want to be heard. Now, you don't have to agree with them, but I really think today's student athletes want to be heard on that. You have a different style offense. Okay, can you explain to everybody out there about your offense?
Our base offense is basically the single wing offense. And, I personally think it's done wonders for us and the program. And the truth is, the first time I had ever faced it was that 2009-2010 season when we played the Popker in the playoffs.
Okay.
And I was like, whoa. And I was like, man, we're going to have problems stopping
Is that
this.
simplified? Is it very simplified, or is it diverse a little bit?
As far as
The offense, the plays and everything, or?
it's as simplified as you want it to be.
Okay.
And the truth is, I think is the origin of a majority of the offense, and people don't realize it.
Right.
And is you see it now in the NFL and the colleges. They just kind of doctor up and do different things to it.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, years ago they ran this offense, but it was strictly running the ball. Okay. Now you're running an offense, and they pass the ball a lot with it, right, in college on that. I remember when I was growing up, Princeton used to run that in New Jersey, right? They used to run the single wing. People knew it was coming. They knew where the plays were coming. And the same thing, and I saw a bunch of your games this year, people knew the ball was coming. You knew what you were doing. Now, my question to you is, in this day and age, with these spread offenses and these quarterbacks throwing for 5,000 yards all over the place, how do you sell your players into that offense?
Well, the blessing for us, I think, we have kids that are workers.
Right.
So we don't have kids that are, I would say, more individualized kids and want, glory and all the stuff brought upon them. One of my kids this year, had some big runs and, had some nice, exciting things to do on the field, and I was kind of like, you know what? I like more than anything the way you finish this block, but it's the truth, you know what I mean? And a lot of time, like a lot of colleges, they kind of like our kids because of the toughness they have. I think we had a kid, Jonathan Thomas, who running the system, we're running the ball, we're not throwing the ball as much, and he went to Bethune-Cookman and started for him as a freshman, started ever since, as a freshman at receiver. You know what I mean? But, one of the things they see, and they love was the way he blocked and he got physical, and so I think in that aspect, it's a blessing to us. We just look for tough kids, we want kids who are going to be disciplined, kids who are going to fall in line, and good character kids, and a lot of time, we've got to the point where we've kind of got a solid foundation, and kids will come in and they'll just fit right in.
Is this close to what Army and Navy runs?
I don't think so. And the reason why I said it because they're more option. We're not.
Okay, that's true. Yeah. That's true.
So a lot of people see it and say, well, that's kind of what. Well, the principle behind it, as far as running the ball, is close.
But they have the option. And have the read option on that.
Yeah, so they're an option-based team, which we're more of a gap sound team, a gap scheme team.
And it does eliminate a lot of your penalties. Is that correct?
Yes.
I mean, because you're running the basic plays. You're running. It's almost like go back to the old days with Vince Lombardi. I'm going to outblock you. and I'm going to out-tackle you, and then we'll worry about everything else later,
Yes.
right? You know, and
Yes.
that's exactly what you guys are doing.
And people are successful with it. You know, like I said, we've been pretty successful with, I think, Apopka in the state finals this
Right,
year against
right,
Columbus,
right.
which I think was, I know it's the second time they matched up in the state finals, I think 4 or 5
Right,
years ago.
right.
I went and watched them play Columbus, and Apopka won the game. But, you know, so, you know, it just all depends on what's your cup of tea. And, you know, I think you got to be careful because it's got to be based off of what type of kids you have.
And that's a great point, because, you know, then you look at some of the other schools, you know, and, you know, Dade, Broward County, they had 7 state championships. At 8, the reason they didn't have 8, they had nobody in that class, in the single A class. But they had 7 state champions within 35 miles of each other. You know, from Columbus to St. Thomas and, you know, Miami Central, Northwest. And boy, they were running the spread, a lot of them doing this and that. But again, it's a credit to you and your coaches. And you know, another thing, as you know, again, being at Centennial and watching you guys, you always had great assistant coaches, Coach, you know? And I think your assistant coaches are a great part of your program. They got to be, you know, part of you when you're not there, you know?
And that's true, too. And the one thing I do like, you know, like I said, they are very loyal coaches, you know, and, you know, thick-skinned coaches, you know what I mean? So, and the buy-in has to start from them before it trickles down to the kids.
Exactly.
Because at first, I had a couple guys on staff and they didn't buy in, and it was a little rough, and we had to move on.
Right.
But the buy-in is what makes it, you know, successful.
I know, you know, any type of accolade I ever got, you know, when we were winning state titles down in Miami, whatever I got, I gave to my assistant coaches too, because again, like you said, you got to buy in. You got to be all one program, and if somebody's doing something wrong, you know, you got to be thick-skinned. You got to take the criticism, and it goes for you too. It goes for the head coach too. But I really like the point where you say you took a little bit of soul searching and you adjusted. Okay, a little bit about football today. I mean, you know, you look at football in Florida. Probably second to none. We were talking before we got on air about, I kind of think the crowds are a little disappointed at the state tournament compared to other states. I don't know if it's because of the holidays, because of the great travel, you know, but then you see Texas and they play at Jerry Jones Stadium and they're averaging 35, you know, one game was almost 50,000, and you wonder why Florida can't do that. The one thing I noticed, Texas is bigger than Florida, right? But they only have
I
6.
think so, yes.
They only have 6 state champions. We have 8, so that could be part of the system too.
I also wonder how, in comparison to high schools, what's the number of high schools in the areas? You know, like how many?
That's a good point.
You know, so you know. How many kids are in the high school? Because you know those. You know, it makes you wonder. You know, you start looking in our area, just the St. Lucie County area, how many...
They're very close to each other.
Yes, very close.
They're more community-based in other states. I know, you know, up in New Jersey where I'm from, they're very community-based. I mean, you know, I was from Springfield, New Jersey, and, you know, everybody from Springfield went to Springfield High. Or the next town over was Union. They went to Union, okay? That was it. One of the things now in college football, it probably started in high school and trickled up, is the transfers, okay? It's something, you know how I feel about it, I know how you feel about it. You wish it didn't happen. It's an open door policy in Florida, because the rule is you can switch schools if there's room and you provide your own transportation. And there's a lot of counties, you're 6'5", 250, we're gonna find room, and we're gonna find you a ride. You know, it's just like that. I don't ever blame the parents for doing it, because this is a state legislative rule. But the transfers are just absolutely ridiculous. And it's all sports, it's not football. I know when I was reading the baseball preview of Dade County last year, they were going each team. They had offense, defense, and transfers. and it was just, you know, it was 5, 6 for each sport. But now you look at college, and you look at this transfer portal.
Yeah.
which they were saying it could be 300 to 400 players in there. Now the rule is, and if I'm mistaken, let me know. You graduated, but you still have a year eligibility. You can transfer, no restrictions.
Yes.
Okay. Second thing is, if you play less than four or less games, you can transfer in your year. So there's the quarterback from Houston, who's the top free agent now. They weren't having a real good year. He had a great year his junior year. A new coach comes in. He plays 4 games and says, I'm sitting out the rest of the year. I want to come back the following year. Well, he changed his mind now. And what's he doing? He's a free agent.
Yeah.
Now, if we go to the college football championships, except for Clemson, all the other quarterbacks were at other schools. That's
Yes.
correct, right?
Yes. Yes.
So my question to you is, what are we coming to?
Yeah. I've been blessed for the most part, that our kids, we don't really have that many kids transfer out,
Right.
But in the same token, we don't really have a bunch of kids transferring in
Right.
also.
Right.
I think it's just, you're gonna get transfers. Everybody's gonna get transfers. I think when you start looking, you see a major influx like you see down south in some of these other schools. It's like, wait a minute, and it makes it tough on some of the schools, I guess, because it's hard for you to kind of get with a hump of everybody. If some of these schools, I guess, you playing basically against an all-star team.
Right.
So it does make it tough. With us, we're kind of like I said, I've been on both sides, and we've had kids come in and a bunch of kids come in, and it's kind of ruined the culture.
It ruins continuity, too.
You know what I mean? And that's almost what happened to us at one point in time. We kind of started, we just got an influx of kids in, and it was like, wow, and the culture got kind of rocked and messed up, you know what I mean? And we're real big on culture at Treasures Coast, and like I say, I feel like I'm in a blessed situation where I've coached every kid that's ever, graduated through the program. You know what I mean? So the culture's still real strong there. So it's just like, you got to be kind of careful, with it. Yeah, you can get in, but who knows what some of these school kids are down south or what we're promising these kids, and then you didn't promise them this, and you can't fulfill it, and the parents are pissed, and it's just, I try to stay away from it.
It's hard, and now, I think it started. 3 years ago, it was much more prevalent in high school than college. Now college is getting way out of hand now, I always laugh, and the greatest season that Joe Burrows had at LSU, the first thing he said after the game was over in the locker room, I'm not a student athlete anymore. So you think he's going to class anymore?
Nah.
Now, he might have graduated.
That's a whole mess in itself there. If you
and then you look at the basketball players that are the one and done. Okay, now I'm pretty sure is once they get cleared with the grades for the first semester, that second semester they're not going to class.
No,
it's a shame it's got to be like that. Which leads me to this next question that I always have a conversation with coaches like you about: should college athletes be paid?
I think they should be compensated in some kind of way. If you look, I think they were saying both coaches in the NCAA championship got like a 6-figure bonus for being there. But what do these kids have? What happens if one of them make a mistake, and let's just say, and has a kid? You know what I mean? And like, how do they support that child? You know what I mean? So, you look at all the money. The truth is, the amount of money that those kids are bringing in is a lot. The only thing I'll say is, I think it could be tough for other schools if, let's just say LSU, they have all of this money, but let's just say Florida State. Florida State doesn't have as much money, so they can't offer to give those kids more money out of their pocket you know what I mean, than Florida State can. So now you start talking about recruiting, it gives them an extra advantage to get the kids in.
True.
You know what I mean? So I don't know if that's how it would be, but you know, I think they should be compensated, you know, something. And the truth is, and I could be wrong, I think, you know, legally there's ways they do get, you know, some type of
Stipend, and
or
they're getting
something,
their
yeah.
education for
Yeah,
free.
uh-huh.
Now, California has passed in their state legislature,
Yes.
and the governor signed it, that in 3 years the athletes are going to be compensated.
Mm-hmm.
So now you got a big-time recruit from the Midwest. Should you go to Ohio
That's
State,
what I was saying.
or should you go to California?
That's what I was saying.
Now, and again, how are you going to stop the boosters? Come to my school, and I'll make sure that we sell this amount of jerseys for you, and you get compensated. I mean, you know, the only thing I could say is they worked it out with the Olympic athletes. You know, they should be able to work it out with the college
Yes,
kids
because
too.
the truth. Let me tell you, it's happening. It's gonna happen.
Sure, it's going to happen.
You know, I even think back to like when my dad said he's the when he used to play in college side, they used to be placing guys with slipping the money. So and that's back in the day. So you know, it's gonna happen. You might as well make it legal. You know what I mean? So and
I had my best friend in high school went out to one of the schools on the West Coast, and he was a really good baseball player, and they gave him a job, and his job was to move the sprinklers and turn on the sprinklers on the football field every day. Except the whole thing was electrical, and it was automatic.
yeah.
So I said, "What'd you do?" He said, "Don't ask." You know, but yes, you're
yeah.
right. There's something they have to do. Yes, the coaches are getting a ton of money, the TV's getting a ton of money, but then you say they are getting their education. You
Yeah.
know, and you know, it's somebody's, you know, way above us has got to work out this thing, you know.
Yeah.
But going back to Treasure Coast, what do you do in the off season now, Coach?
We've just started, just kind of started doing some on the field conditioning stuff. We started Monday, I think it was. So we're just starting to get going and kind of hitting the weight room hard right now. And, you know, nothing too crazy, but just kind of, you know, trying to get the kids in and trying to get them back adjusted slowly, you know.
And you know, I like I said, I saw a lot of your games last year. You had the two tough losses to Vero. You know, the game, your home game was really tough.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, a few calls either way, and you know, it was a little confusing at the end.
Yeah.
You know, but you guys did well, and you know, your only loss was to Vero, both games, and you know, that's a shame that the brackets had a run like that. You know,
Yeah.
that way too. Also, in your coaching, has it changed now with the different safety issues you have to worry about?
Oh yeah. Since I first started, man, you know, it's you know, we had to have an ice tub on the field when we practice.
Right.
You know, when we first started, you know, as crazy as it sounds, you know, you get the kids kind of water when you
Yes.
feel like they needed water. You know what I mean? And,
I mean, you go back. I mean, Coach Kelly, you know, the late Coach Kelly, who
Yeah.
was such a great friend of ours. You know, he used to tell us the stories. You know, when he was playing up in the Panhandle. You know, this is going back 50 years. You don't ask for water. You don't ask for water.
Yeah.
And the way he explained it was kind of funny, but now you look at it, and now that we understand it, and I'm always a big proponent of we don't teach our coaches enough.
Yes.
Training, don't you have training for your academic classes every year for improvement? What do you do for coaches? And, you know, I know you watched a little video.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Which
Yeah.
half people, and I'm going to be real honest, as an
Yeah.
AD, half of them are falling asleep. you know, to me, I would love to see a whole day in service, and I know Jay used to do one years ago.
Yeah.
He brought in doctors. You took a test. You had to pass the test. You paid attention. Everybody got in-service points. But most important, you got to ask questions. You know, doctors there. I mean, we're practicing in August in this heat, which is outrageous. And I know you and I just talked about that off camera. You know, is there a way to practice before school? Is there a way, well, not in our county, we start at 7 o'clock, but maybe practice at night or something like that because of the heat thing, because you have to, there's no more 2-a-days. Mike, is that correct?
The way our county is set up, and as far as the teachers being back, we won't be able, because it's almost like, and I could be wrong by this, you know, but you know, you have you can't have 2 days the first week, you know, you got to acclimate to everything.
The second week the teachers.
The second week the teachers in, and
it's hard.
I personally changed my whole thought process the way you know we practice, and we probably do some things other people probably think, what are you doing? But you know, it has worked for us. You know what I mean? And it's, you know, like we said, you have to give them every 30 minutes. You got to give them the not just water, a 5-minute break.
Right.
You know what I mean? So my whole thought process, and when you start talking about something happening to the kids that you love, and different things, like, you know, with me and our staff, like, we were very vigilant when it comes to, you know, watching kids. You know, I think we might have had to put a kid in an ice tub or something. It wasn't nothing serious. It was like, we ain't taking no chance.
No, you can't take a chance.
We're not taking no chances. You know what I mean? And it wasn't nothing. You know, wasn't nothing bad. Which is like, no, you know, we're not.
And you
gonna.
always wish you had trainers like we used to have years ago, because you know there's certain things that coaches not trained for. They just don't know. But you know, again, not just for safety issues, but just like you said about how you adjusted. Now that was you. But there should be sort of like seminars for coaches at the beginning of each season. That's you know my thing. You know, so you bring people in. You bring somebody that's knowledgeable in baseball. You bring somebody that's knowledgeable in girls basketball. What can you do? Because who do you learn the most from? You're the coaches. You know, I used to think my best quality as a coach was I was a thief.
Yeah.
I saw you doing something good.
Yeah.
Hey, can you explain to me? Well, you're in my district. Don't just come on, tell me. Tell me what you're doing. I want to know how you're practicing, you know? And you know, a lot of times when you go to these coaching clinics, well, you got a college coach up there that's got every possible facility in the world. I want to talk to, we'll just talk about Popka. We'll just talk about Columbus. What did you guys do? Did you do anything different? You know, and I'll give credit to the coach from Columbus. He got beat halfway through the year by somebody that was a lot lower class, 35-0. And you bounce back and you win that way. But, you know, that's something. I know Jay being over at your school now, I know he'll implement something. And, you know, maybe down the road you can implement, you know, a day for the coaches, you know, maybe before the season starts, before the academic starts, where you have doctors, you have college coaches, you have successful high school coaches in, you bring trainers in, okay? Social media people, you know, that we could do a whole show on social media and everything, you know? But as you can see, time is flying, how quick we go through the show. But listen, I got to thank you a lot.
Okay.
You've always been a coach that I always looked up to and I admired. Boy, we had some great games.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I always think of some of the games we had, and the place was packed all the time, and it was a good, classy rivalry, you know, and I always liked that, and, you know, with Dan there, and always with your principals and everything, and I thank you. But I want to thank you, and you had a great season, and thanks again for coming on my show.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.